Part 19. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 181. Side. Zhang Cheng feels that it's just that, things often don't go your way. After sitting for a while, Zhang Cheng walked upstairs and knocked on the door of Zhang La's room. Zhang La's alert voice soon came from inside. What are you doing? I received urgent news. There is something wrong with the branch. I have to rush over to deal with it. I may not be back tonight. You should go to bed early. Zhang Cheng lied skillfully. Oh, I know. Zhang Cheng's expression tonight also said the problem was very serious. So she was very obedient and didn't ask any more questions. After taking care of Zhang Lai, Zhang Cheng picked up the car keys and came to the garage to drive. After going around the villa area, I drove into the villa where Zhongzhi was. This was the advantage of buying two villas, so I could get there as soon as possible. The only drawback is that you need to install a garage. What if Zhongzhi or Zhang Lai drove by here one day and happened to bump into them? Zhang Cheng opened the door of the villa and walked in. At first glance, I saw Zhongzhi lying on the sofa in her pajamas, with the spring scenery looming. Seeing this scene, Zhang Cheng smiled bitterly. Really? Another expensive night. She had experienced Zhongzhi's power before, although it was her first time, perhaps because of her age. She knew better how to cater to herself, so Zhang Cheng unlocked too many postures on her. Compared to Su Yao, Zhongzhi wants more. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Zhongzhi looked up at Zhang Cheng, with a moving smile on her standard beautiful oval face. You're back. I'll take a bath with you first. Then, the two people walked into the bathroom. Half an hour later, they came out of the bathroom and came to the room. Turning clouds and rain. It wasn't until late at night that the two stopped fighting. With a satisfied smile on her lips, Zhongzhi lay in Zhang Cheng's arms and fell asleep quietly. The next day, near noon, Zhang Chengke opened his eyes. Just like yesterday, Zhongzhi went to work early. Zhang Cheng stood up from the bed with his teeth bared and went to the bathroom to brush his teeth and wash his face. Finally, I ordered a takeaway for myself, and then I felt a little relieved. This kind of life is good. It's just a bit expensive. After finishing the takeaway, Zhang Cheng took out the long-lost diary from the suitcase he brought with him. When he came to the study room, Zhang Cheng opened his notes. Sit at your desk and carefully record every starting point. Fish-keeping diary. Today is the third day in the Demon City. Everything went as planned and orderly. Yesterday, in one day, I successfully won the technology company in Yeadu and the opportunity that belonged to the protagonist. According to this progress, maybe I can solve this plot in less than a month. Last night, Zhang Lai successfully conquered, and she was the third heroine I came here to conquer. Oh no, it should be the second one. Su Yao is the villain, she doesn't count, she is mine. As an actor, Xiao Lele successfully fell in love with me due to my emotional performance. Hey, this is the trouble of being a good man, all the girls fall in love with me. I originally made a plan to nourish my kidneys, but the appearance of Zhongzhi made me helpless. Just like that, the plan failed before it even started. This is another damn wasteful day that makes me addicted. I must prescribe medicine for myself some other time, the kind that requires a lot of supplements. After all, there are so many people I love and who love me, and one kidney alone cannot satisfy me. As a pond owner, raising fish must be done so that everyone has a share. I haven't chatted with Qingying girls and Qinjian girls in the past few days. I think they must miss me very much. Doghead.jpg. Back in the Magic City, I was the first to take down the Qinjian girl, and Qingying was released first. Her girl was still a bit scary, and I was afraid of being dragged into target practice. Today is the third day in Demon City, and everything is going smoothly. Come on, fish keepers. Another fish farming diary, and I successfully wrote 2 more pages in this thick notebook. Zhang Cheng felt that he would fill it up soon. Smile slightly. This is your own private autobiography. No one can find out. The direction of the Xia family, the demon capital, is outside the Xia family villa. Chen Luo suddenly received a message from his wife Xia Wanting, asking him to come to the Xia family villa quickly, saying that there was something important to announce. Seeing his wife's anxious tone, Chen Luo felt happy. He has asked people from the company to contact Xia Wanting and prepare to hand over a money-sending contract to her. Not long after this, his wife contacted him to go to the Xia family villa. It must be because of this that the old lady appreciated her and arranged a position for herself to work with Wanting. Just fantasizing like this, Chen Luo felt that it was worth it. It's only 100 million. It's so nice to have the pleasure of exchanging my wife and being able to accompany her to and from get off work every day. Life is so simple. When my betting period comes, I will have a showdown with Wanting. Then I will marry her gracefully and hold a grand wedding in the place she most wants to go. Chen Luo thought about it and came to the Xia family villa. As soon as he arrived at the door of the villa, he saw Xia Wanting standing outside the door. Chen Luo raised his hand happily, "Wife." When Xia Wanting heard this voice, her face darkened and she said coldly, "Here. Come in with me. The old lady has something to announce." Okay. Chen Luo nodded vigorously, followed Xia Wanting into the villa with a smile. As soon as he entered the villa, he saw Zhu Ming sitting on a chair. Suddenly I was a little confused. Why is this guy here? Seeing Chen Luo come in, everyone in the villa became silent and looked at Chen Luo with gloating eyes. He was confused and couldn't figure out what was going on today. "Why, I have a bad feeling. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO." Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 182. In the past 3 years, Chen Luo has stepped into the Xia family's villa for the 3rd time. Although compared to my own villa, this place is undoubtedly as poor as a shabby settlement. But every time he walked in here, Chen Luo was a little nervous. Because the people here are all Xia Wanting's relatives, and their words may affect her. Old lady. Although he was confused as to why Zhu Ming was here, Chen Luo took the lead in saluting the old man sitting on the front seat, holding a cane, and said respectfully, "This old man is Xia Wanting's grandmother." Chen Luo also respected her very much. The old lady's wrinkled face looked at Chen Luo with impatience written all over her face. This is a loser. I don't know why the old man wanting to marry him. He also told himself that they must not divorce within 3 years, otherwise it would be the biggest loss to the Xia family. The old lady also listened to Mr. Xia's words at that time and did not do anything to separate the two in 3 years. But she was also very dissatisfied. Chen Luo here is just a waste who doesn't work or work. For 3 years, I have been doing some housework. Without any outstanding performance, she didn't understand why she should keep such a complete loser. "Well, find a seat and sit by yourself," the old lady responded coldly, and then stopped looking at him. Anyone who doesn't help the Xia family in the slightest is trash. Therefore, she would not give Chen Luo any good looks, because it was not worth it. Like their Xia family's attitude, even those families worth hundreds of billions are not so arrogant. With assets of several hundred million, they were given an attitude worth trillions. Old lady, have a great birthday. This is wireless writing, I have to accept it? If Zhang Cheng were here, he would definitely couldn't help but sigh, it is indeed a wireless article. Even those novels about warrior kings and gods of medicine are better than these stories about a son-in-law. At least they won't go too far. Chen Luo was immediately happy when he heard the old lady rarely asked him to sit down. In the past few years, except for celebrating the old lady's birthday, he has basically never entered this villa, let alone sat down by himself. Every time he came, he stood. Especially the first 2 times, I secretly brought the old man's antiques over to celebrate his birthday. As a result, the old lady thought it was a fake and smashed the old man's antique blue and white porcelain worth more than 60 million yuan as rubbish. But it is true that the color is a bit ugly and it looks fake. It fell, and he didn't take it seriously. Honey, did the old lady call me here this time to announce something big? Chen Luo leaned next to Xia Wanting and said with a smile on his face. If you want to be a powerful person, you have to become a billionaire. Hearing this, Zhu Ming smiled and said, it's coming soon. We'll be there in a few minutes. Looking at Xia Wanting's pretty figure, Zhu Ming became a little hot again. When the time comes, if you hug the Zhong family tightly, it will be enough for you to become a person with a net worth of billions. When Chen Luo heard this, he quickly sat up straight and nodded, oh, I understand. The main members of the Xia family were also excited. The only son of the Chen family who returned from overseas is paired with Zhong Ji of the Zhong family. What she hates the most is Chen Luo's virtue. For no reason, just because she was lost and almost kidnapped, she gave herself a lollipop and a steamed bun. Zhu Ming, who was sitting below the old lady, looked at the movement at the rear with a look of ridicule in his eyes. When Zhu Ming's father heard this, he couldn't help but nodded and said, that's right. Now the Xia family can be considered a billionaire family, but it is far from enough. I am a person who repays kindness with kindness, so what if I have to suffer for 3 years? There is absolutely no problem in forming an alliance with the Zhu family and pulling the Xia family forward. As long as it can give her happiness, nothing in this life is unworthy. Just sit down, why are you asking so many questions? Xia Wanting frowned and said impatiently. Seeing that everyone had almost arrived, the old lady in the front seat opened her eyes and asked Zhu Ming, Xiao Ming, when will your father come over? A few minutes later, a hearty laughter sounded outside the Xia family villa. Ha ha ha, long time no see, old lady. Are you feeling well? Only Chen Luo, who was sitting in the corner, looked at the scene a little confused. Today's highlight is about to begin. Upon seeing this, the old lady stood up from the chair and said with a smile, my health is okay. Today is a big day for our family, so let's get down to business as soon as possible. A middle-aged man with a big belly and a suit walked in quickly. My wife's words are an imperial edict. Isn't this a celebration party to celebrate my wife's hundreds of millions of orders? How did it become a happy day for the Zhu family and the Xia family? What a treasure it was to know her. In this demon city, even those people in light have a net worth of tens of millions or hundreds of millions. He can also get the support of the giant Zhong family, and the family is destined to prosper in his hands. The Zhong family is also destined to enter the echelon of families worth hundreds of billions. Very good. The Zhong family is the strongest family after the 2 billionaire families in Demon City. Moreover, it is said that the Zhong family will marry the only son of the richest man, the Chen family. Hearing this, the old lady nodded, with a smile like a chrysanthemum blooming on her old face. One word can get him moving. Licking the dog. I feel annoyed if I say more than 2 words to him. Xia Wanting's words were equivalent to an imperial edict. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 183. In Chen Luo's opinion, the reason why the old lady of the Xia family asked him to come here today must be to celebrate his wife's order worth hundreds of millions. After all, for the small Xia family, hundreds of millions is already a huge order. Enough for them to hold a celebration meeting. Before he could think about it, the old lady of the Xia family said, today is the day of marriage between our Xia family and the Zhu family. It's a big day for our 2 families, so all the Xia family members present today will follow us to a 5-star hotel for a meal, which is considered an engagement banquet. The old lady's hearty voice reached the ears of everyone in the hall. Hearing this, Chen Luo had no doubts. No wonder this guy named Zhu is here. It turns out that there is a marriage between two families. That's not surprising. Marriage is not strange at their level. Doesn't even the old man in his family want him to marry a woman from the Zhong family? But how could I let him arrange it? Thinking of this, Chen Luo couldn't help but look at his wife beside him. She was smiling and so beautiful. He must protect her so that she can have this beautiful smile all her life. Chen Luo decided secretly. No one can stop me. Honey, who is getting married between our family and the Zhu family today? Why didn't I hear any news? Chen Luo asked in a low voice after everyone clapped and applauded. Xia Wanting's eyes were smiling and she seemed to be in a good mood, so she said, "You'll know in a minute." After saying this, Xia Wanting left. Chen Luo scratched his head. Who is it? It's so mysterious that even I have to keep it a secret. However, the people who were looking at the Xia family seemed to keep glancing towards him, which made him a little uncomfortable. What were they looking at? The old lady is right. Today is a great event for our family, so everyone has a red envelope of 10,000, don't think it's too little, Zhu Ming's father also said with a smile, and then waved his hand, and a bodyguard came up with a box. Zhu Ming also walked up and opened the safe himself. He took out the red envelope filled with a thick stack of dragon coins and handed it out one by one. A smile on his face. When it was sent to Chen Luo, Zhu Ming obviously paused, then took out a different red envelope from the box and gave it to him. It seems like this one is a little thicker. A happy marriage of 100 years. When receiving his red envelope, Chen Luo didn't feel anything was wrong. He took it with a smile and said, a happy marriage of 100 years. This made Zhu Ming smile even happier and said directly, thank you for the blessing, ha ha ha. Chen Luo suddenly felt that this guy seemed pretty good. Although he had ridiculed him that day, he was still very generous. It just so happens that my bank card hasn't been unfrozen yet and I don't have much money. This little money can also be put to good use. After giving out the red envelopes, Zhu Ming returned to his seat and sat down. Okay, the red envelopes have been distributed. It's almost time for dinner to celebrate the engagement of my son and Miss Xia Wanting. Let's go to the hotel together. I have already ordered the most sumptuous dishes for today. It will be held in 2 days. Formal engagement party. After seeing his son finish giving out red envelopes, the middle-aged man said with a smile. Then he and the old lady of the Xia family walked out of the villa first. Everyone was planning to leave. Only Chen Luo, who had just stood up, suddenly stiffened his steps. His expression changed drastically. The engagement between Zhu Ming and Miss Xia Wanting? Wait, Chen Luo couldn't help shouting, and everyone couldn't help but stop. Ms. Xia looked back and glared, what are you going to do? Chen Luo didn't care about anything and rushed forward. He stared at old Ms. Xia and asked, old Ms. Xia, please tell me, who in our Xia family is engaged to Zhu Ming? He couldn't believe what he just heard. It must not be true. Ms. Xia glanced at him and said coldly, Wanting and Zhu Ming's engagement. I forgot to tell you, didn't I? From now on, your marriage to Wanting is officially over. You and her should go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get divorced today. You are not worthy of Wanting. The old lady's words were like thunder, exploding in Chen Luo's ears. Divorced Wanting? Why? Why is this happening? Chen Luo looked around at everyone in the villa and found that everyone had gloating on their faces. They knew the feelings early on. Then this red envelope. I even said that. Thinking of this, Chen Luo suddenly felt endless humiliation. Why? Why? Ms. Xia suddenly sneered when she heard what he said. You loser, what have you brought to our Xia family in 3 years? Nothing. You feed our Xia family, use our Xia family's food, and you don't know how to work. Why do you have the nerve to ask? If the old man hadn't told me not to divorce you two within 3 years, do you think you could still stay in our Xia family and enjoy 3 years of happiness? If you are sensible, use this money to divorce Wanting and don't delay her happiness. Mrs. Xia's words are heartbreaking. Am I not worthy of Wanting? Just because of money? I sent hundreds of millions of orders to your Xia family today, and you tell me I'm not worthy? Chen Luo's face was twisted and filled with anger. I've said it before, you're not worthy of Wanting, and you didn't listen when I asked you to leave. The 66,000 and 6,000 I'm giving you now should be regarded as the division of your marital property. Take this money and get out. At this time, Zhu Ming also walked up and said sarcastically. You are looking for death. Upon hearing this, Chen Luo's eyes turned red. He swung his fist and hit him in the face. However, Zhu Ming directly blocked him, grabbed his wrist and kicked him. Chen Luo lay directly on the ground. You're a useless loser like you. You don't even have the right to be angry. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 184. Chen Luo was kicked to the ground. The whole person was stunned. So, am I so fragile? Even a person with a lower status than myself can knock me down with one kick. Am I too weak? I'm obviously rich. My status is obviously more noble. Why is this happening? Correct. It must be because the old man didn't reveal his identity to me. Otherwise, I should have officially married Wanting 3 years ago. Instead of getting the certificate secretly. I have served them for so long, but in the end Wanting left me because of money. Wanting left suddenly just now. She must have known about this and didn't want to let herself know, so she left secretly. She was also forced. She must be a member of the Zhu family. She promised the old lady some benefits, otherwise Wanting would not have been left. For 3 years, Wanting has not said divorce. I just met this guy named Zhu. In just a few days, Mrs. Yari betrothed Wanting to him. It must be because of money, it must be because of money. Chen Luo muttered to himself, fell to the ground and kept thinking. Sure enough, the brain circuit of licking a dog is something that others cannot guess, and it is already such a humiliating situation. He also thought Xia Wanting was forced. The people around him looked at Chen Luo talking to himself on the ground, with sarcastic eyes and unbridled discussions without caring about his feelings. This Chen Luo is really pathetic. He is a useless person, but he insists on eating swan meat. Isn't that right? I haven't looked for any job for 3 years, just doing housework at home. Bring water to wash the feet of my uncle and the others. What a loser. I really don't know why he is so thick-skinned. I really want him to give me 2 milligrams. The crowd's voices did not affect Chen Luo at all. Chen Luo slowly got up from the ground, passed Mrs. Xia and Zhu Ming's father in despair, and walked outside the villa. Seeing this scene, Zhu Ming's father couldn't help but smile and said, "Old Mrs. Xia, your good-for-nothing grandson-in-law is, really interesting." He didn't even know how to describe this kind of man. Mrs. Xia's face was dull, and she laughed and said, "Hey, it's my fault that the old man went crazy and insisted on marrying Wanting to him, which made her reputation bad. Fortunately, your Zhu family doesn't dislike her." Zhu Ming's father laughed and waved his hand. "That's not true. Wanting is a good woman, and she has not been polluted by this toad. She has a little reputation and is not worth caring about. The most important thing is for both families to make progress together." There is something meaningful about the smile. It is a little more than money and influence. It is just a little fame. People in the upper class will naturally forget it after a few years. Well, that's right, let's continue, don't let him spoil our mood. Mrs. Xia was in a very happy mood and nodded repeatedly. The two families packed up their mood and continued to rush to the hotel. After Chen Luo ran out of the Xia family villa, he ran along the river. Ah! I can't help it anymore. I must make the Zhu family disappear in the demon city. How dare you destroy Wanting and I's happiness? Chen Luo supported the guardrail, faced the river, and roared crazily. Looking back on the past 3 years, I have done so many things to make Wanting happy, but I didn't expect that in the end, I would still be sabotaged. I originally thought that my father-in-law and mother-in-law would speak for me, but they stood behind me and didn't even look at me. By the way, they have been ostracized by the Xia family. This time they were suddenly invited to the villa. It must be because they were threatened. Even Wanting is like this, she must have been threatened. He had been cooking for 3 years, carrying water for washing feet for 2 years, and even before his identity was revealed, he did not sleep in the same bed as Wanting. Just to wait 2 weeks for his identity to be revealed so that he could have a complete wedding for her. However, there are only the last 2 weeks left. Why, nothing happened in 3 years, but something happened at the last moment. Seeing that he was about to resume his status as the son of the richest man, why did this happen? There is still a chance, there is still a chance. I haven't signed the divorce agreement and haven't divorced yet. I hope it's still late until my identity is exposed, Chen Luo thought anxiously. However, I really can't wait any longer. Anyway, I persisted for 3 years. Now I go back to the old man to discuss it, let me be exposed, and let me marry Wanting. Yes. Go back and talk to the old man now. Thinking of the last chance, Chen Luo's eyes lit up. Next, the old man will be his last hope. If the old man doesn't agree, then he will force him to die. If you don't marry Wanting for me, then I will let you, old man, have no children or grandchildren. I don't have a father like you. Anyway, that woman Chen Yingxiu doesn't like you, and you won't let her inherit your company. I don't believe it. Who else can you give it to besides me? As for that woman from the Zhong family, marry whoever you like. As he spoke, Chen Luo's eyes gradually became fierce. Yes, he didn't have the courage to make any noise in front of the Xia family, but he still had the courage to fight against his doting father. Chen Tiansheng has doted on him since he was a child, and no matter what he is the best. Including education. You may have forgotten that he is a son-in-law, yes, but his diploma is also that of a top student who has returned from overseas. He is the kind of scholar with real talent and practical knowledge. Now I'll go back and talk to the old man. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 185. After figuring out his thoughts, Chen Luo didn't waste a moment and took a taxi directly to the Chen family villa. Inside the Chen family villa. In the pavilion in the garden, there are rock eyries, flowing water, and wisps of mist, which look very picturesque. Chen Tiansheng was sitting in the pavilion drinking tea, holding a copy of Jin Yang's The Legend of the Condor Heroes in his hand, fascinated by the book. In addition to collecting antiques and other hobbies, his other hobby is reading martial arts novels. Including his Chinese-style villa, the design of the 6 acres of land was all designed in accordance with ancient styles, and the various expenses added up to 1 billion. Moreover, the annual maintenance cost of this yard costs tens of millions. To him, the money was just a small amount of money and he didn't care at all. Not far from the pavilion, the housekeeper Lao Yang was sitting there, waiting for Chen Tiansheng's instructions. Lao Yang, Chen Tiansheng suddenly shouted. The butler immediately stood up, walked to the pavilion, and said respectfully, "Master, what are your orders?" Chen Tiansheng drank tea leisurely and said calmly, "Is there anything interesting happening during this time?" Apart from work, he basically has no extra leisure time in a day. Like today, it is only a rare leisure time once a month. The daily work schedule is fully arranged, starting from 4:30 in the morning to 10 in the evening. Therefore, he relied on his housekeeper Lao Yang to collect some things for him and convey them to him. When Lao Yang heard this, he immediately said, "There haven't been many major events in the Demon City recently." On the other hand, in the Demon City, the heir of the Luo family, Luo Lizzie, has mysteriously disappeared. In addition, in the past 2 days, Miss Zhong Ji of the Zhong family also took over an internet company under the arrangement of Mr. Zhong. Chen Tiansheng listened to his report quietly, his eyes always staring at the legend of the Condor heroes in his hand. Lao Yang was also very smart and did not continue to report the news about Chen Luo. Suddenly, on the stone table, Chen Tiansheng's cell phone rang. Putting down the book, Chen Tiansheng picked up the phone and pressed the answer button without looking at it. "Hello." Hearing a familiar voice that he hadn't heard in 3 years, Chen Luo immediately said, "Dad, I'm home." Ask the housekeeper to open the door. Chen Luo's keys were all taken away, so he could only call him. When Chen Tiansheng heard this, his brows instantly wrinkled. "What do you mean? Don't you mean you can't come back until 3 years later?" "Don't worry about it. I have something urgent to tell you." "Let me in quickly," Chen Luo said in an impatient tone. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Chen Tiansheng listened to the busy tone on the phone, and a look of disappointment flashed across his serious face. This bastard really takes himself less and less seriously. But he only had such a son, so he couldn't do anything to him, and he couldn't bear to beat him. He feels more confident when confronting his own old man than when confronting outsiders, because outsiders he may not be able to defeat. In this family, only the housekeeper can make me feel at ease. You want to piss me off to death," Chen Tiansheng pointed at him with a trembling hand. "Remove my restrictions in advance, I want to marry wanting." Chest heaving. Chen Tiansheng turned pale with anger at his words. "Shut up." "Impossible." After Chen Tiansheng finished speaking, he slapped the stone table with his big hand and roared. Chen Luo nodded and said with a forced smile, "Excuse me, butler." All he could do was stare. Chen Luo didn't care at all about his anger. The housekeeper, Lao Yang, bowed and exited the pavilion, then quickly walked to the courtyard gate. "What the hell, what kind of weird son is he?" For a woman, maybe a powerful woman, he would say these words to stimulate himself. Chen Luo had no intention of giving in, and his tone was extremely tough. "If you don't let me marry wanting, then expel me from this family and find someone else to be your son." Chen Luo pushed back his anger rudely. "Then you expel me from the Chen family. Compared to my father, I am a much better housekeeper." Chen Luo ignored him, but stared at him and asked, "I'm asking you, Dad, if you will reveal your identity to me, I will definitely marry wanting. I will identify with her for the rest of my life." Sighing, Chen Tiansheng put down his phone, waved his hand and said, "Go and bring that kid in. Your significant other is the daughter of Zhong Shujao. There is absolutely no way she is a woman from such a small family. Now she is threatened by a member of a small family to divorce me and marry someone else. You are the cause of all this. If it is destroyed, who will inherit this huge family property?" Chen Tiansheng's eyes widened and he stared at him. Under the leadership of the housekeeper, Chen Luo came to the flowing water pavilion in the backyard of the villa, walked into the pavilion and sat on a stone bench. Chen Luo's words made Chen Tiansheng thunderous on the outside and tender on the inside. A few minutes later, the housekeeper Lao Yang opened the door and looked at Chen Luo, who was standing at the door with a simple look, and said respectfully, "Master, I asked me to take you there. I have no idea what was going on in this bastard's mind, and how could I have given birth to such a bastard in the first place?" Chen Tiansheng put down the book, looked at him and said calmly, "What's the matter? If I really lose her, then I won't recognize you as my father." "Impossible." "Dad, I have something to tell you," Chen Luo said straight to the point as soon as he sat down. "If you hadn't revealed your identity to me, I would have married wanting. According to Chen Luo, this woman seems to want to divorce him. One sentence left Chen Tiansheng speechless. He was obviously angry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 186. Have you never thought that this woman chose to leave you because of that person's power? Chen Tiansheng said in a deep voice, holding back his anger. Chen Luo disagreed and vowed, I believe wanting is not that kind of person. I have been with her for 3 years. Although we had some minor quarrels, she has never had the idea of divorce. This guy who suddenly appeared must have made an agreement with MRSA for some benefit, and then forced wanting to submit. If I hadn't known that person surnamed Zhu, I would have suspected that you were the one arranging it and wanted to mess up our marriage at this point. Chen Luo couldn't help but glance suspiciously at Chen Tiansheng, whose face was ashen. It's very possible. After all, it's almost the appointed time. Maybe he really arranged it for wanting to marry another man, and then let himself marry someone from the Zhong family. Chen Tiansheng was almost angry to death by his words. Lips quivering. You evil beast, Chen Tiansheng repeated. Looking at his son's eyes, Chen Tiansheng suddenly sighed and said disappointedly. Hey, you decide for yourself, I can't control you anymore. It can't be controlled, it's hopeless. This has become a complete loser, even he doubts himself. I have completely forgotten my identity. Lao Yang, send him out. Chen Tiansheng stopped looking at him and waved his hand, asking the housekeeper to send him away. Disheartened. This son is already dead, forget it, let him do whatever he wants. After all, after he dies, he can't control anything anymore. If he loses, he will lose. From beginning to end, he never thought about giving half of the family property to his daughter Chen Yingxiu. The housekeeper Lao Yang bent down and said respectfully, it's the master. Chen Luo was overjoyed. When his father agreed, he followed the housekeeper and left without saying hello. Wait until they leave the backyard pavilion. Chen Tiansheng, who was lying on the chair, let out a sigh. After leaving Chen Tiansheng's villa, outside the gate, the housekeeper Lao Yang said, Master, my wife has missed you very much these past 3 years. I want you to visit her when you have time. Chen Luo nodded and said with a smile, I understand, butler, go and unfreeze the bank card with me, and then go to my villa. At the engagement party in 2 days, I will breathe a sigh of relief. After saying that, Chen Luo's eyes flashed with light, wanting, I'm here to marry you. I must destroy this Zhu family. 1 day passed. Zhang Cheng rested in the villa for a day and regained some energy. I'm going out to visit the company today. Do you want to go? In the restaurant, Zhang Cheng said with a smile while eating breakfast made by Zhang Lai himself. Zhang Lai looked up at him and nodded, okay, it just so happens that I haven't gone out for a day. Today, Zhang Lai rarely changed into a small skirt and still looked so fresh. After eating, Zhang Cheng drove her in the car towards the company. Arriving at the company's office building in Hishan district, Zhang Cheng took his ID card, passed the security check, and then went straight to the 17th floor. Is the prototype machine developed? Zhang Cheng came to the president's office. As soon as he entered, he saw Tang Hobo and Mo Rongpeng discussing something. Mr. Zhang. When the two heard the voice, they immediately stood up from the sofa and shouted. Zhang Cheng was not polite, sat on the boss's chair, and listened to the two men reporting the situation. Mo Rongpeng picked up the folder on the desktop and said, Mr. Zhang, according to your request, our company has been renamed Tiancheng Computer Systems Co., Limited, and the registered capital has been increased from the previous 10 million to 500 million. The current equity distribution is that you own 90%, Mr. Tang and I each own 5%. According to your request the day before yesterday, we have worked overtime in the past 2 days, using the prototype machine built by the previous research laboratory to modify it, and successfully produced the first generation of holographic equipment. The more he talked about it, the more excited Mo Rongpen became. Because he was born in an internet company, he naturally knows how much impact the successful production of holographic equipment will have on the entire industry. As long as you produce a complete experimental report and a prototype, it will be enough to make the company's estimated market value exceed 100 billion in an instant. And my 5% share is worth billions. Zhang Chen nodded, and then asked, "Take me down to have a look." As a technology geek, Vice President Tang Hobo immediately stood up, "Mr. Zhang, come with me." After leaving the office, Zhang Li couldn't help but ask, "Big liar, what kind of company is this? It's so mysterious." "Technology company," Zhang Cheng said with a smile. "What is the holographic device?" Zhang Li was a little confused. "Holographic things seem a bit science fiction. Is the Big Liar's company doing this?" "You'll know in a minute." The 4 people took the elevator down to the 2nd floor. This is their company's R&D center. After getting out of the elevator, there were only about a dozen core staff working in the more than 1,000 square meter R&D room. Looking at their eyes, they seemed to be very excited. Tang Hobo brought Zhang Chen to the R&D room, clapped his hands and shouted, "Everyone, please stop what you are doing." Soon, all the R&D personnel came over with doubts. As the main member of the R&D staff and vice president, Tang Hobo is naturally better at managing this group of people than the newly appointed Mo Rongpeng. "The person next to me is the major shareholder of our company, Mr. Zhang Cheng. It was also him who provided us with all the core data of the holographic equipment. Now everyone brings up the basic prototype and shows it to Mr. Zhang." When Tang Hobo's voice fell, 2 people immediately moved out a metal body that looked like a basketball. "Based on last night's settings, we can project a doomsday scene first. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 187. Doomsday Scenario. After hearing Tang Hobo's order, researchers immediately operated on the computer and entered instructions. All the programs are rudimentary, because it takes a little time to write even if they have the initial machine they built in a day. So the doomsday scenes are all clips found on the internet, not made by them themselves. The projection system is loading. Grading projection levels. Interfering with light source image. Imaging begins. As the operator explained, soon the patterns on the basketball-sized prototype began to light up. In an instant, light wave projection appeared, and dozens of rays of light shot out at the same time. Wave images gradually formed. The light intertwined and covered the entire laboratory. The scene around Zhang Chen and the others changed. A ruined city appears, and fire lights up the sky. Zhang Chen looked at the scene in front of him, and then looked at what was happening under his feet. It seemed that even the floor under his feet had changed. "Okay, stop." Zhang Chen's faint voice sounded, and the operator immediately stopped the projection effect. "It's just the most basic projection, not outstanding." Zhang Chen frowned slightly. Because he found that as long as a person stands under the light, the imaging effect will be blocked, making it look a bit fake. If such a finished product is put on display, it will not give the company enough potential, because with this technology, there are actually companies that can do small-scale holographic imaging. "Mr. Zhang, this is the best we can do." After hearing this, Tang Hobo suddenly smiled bitterly. "Because the time you gave is too short, although many of the equipment mentioned in the data can be manufactured now, they cannot be completed in a short time. Building a machine doesn't mean just finishing the parts. It is also necessary to program chips and circuit boards at all levels so that they can be more easily controlled, as well as the theory of light interference and diffraction, which require a large amount of expensive materials to be manufactured. If it takes a month, we can guarantee that it will be manufactured smoothly, but now. Hearing this, Zhang Cheng also fell into deep thought. Yes, this obviously cannot amaze the public. Because of holographic technology, according to the technology he obtained, it is possible to have nanoballs enter the human body and then scan it to construct an extremely detailed map of the human body. It provides strong support for the improvement of human medical technology. How on earth, have it? As soon as he thought of a possibility, he immediately opened the system interface. System, Villain System. Host, Zhang Cheng. Wealth value, 144.7 billion yuan. Villain value, 15,786 points. Backpack. Disposable attribute points, 0. Attributes, Constitution, 175. Strength, 175. Reactions, 175. Speed, 175. Charisma, 149. Note, the standard for a normal adult male is 100, and the maximum charm value is 149, full. Skills, plus, click to expand. Luck value, 130. System Mall, plus, click to enter. Dungeon progress, the most powerful wealthy family's son-in-law, 30%. Zhang Cheng opened the system, slid directly to the system mall, and clicked to enter. Aha! A cow that can produce a lot of milk *1, selling price, 10,000 villain points. Holographic technology imager *1, price, 3,000 villain value. Graphene battery pack *1, price, 5,000 villain value. Holographic voice control system *1, price, 2,000 villain value. When Zhang Cheng saw the first product, he almost vomited blood. Why is a cow that can produce a lot of milk worth 10,000 villain points? Is it just because it has a lot of milk? When there are extra villains worth, I will buy them for you and see how much you can produce. Without wasting time, Zhang Cheng directly exchanged two finished products, the holographic imager and the holographic voice control system. Minus 5,000 villain value. Soon, there was a USB flash drive in his pocket. After the exchange was completed, he immediately withdrew. Wait for me. After saying that, Zhang Cheng ran downstairs regardless of the doubts of several people. The imager was placed in the luggage compartment of the Porsche by itself, so it couldn't be conjured up out of thin air for them. After a while, Zhang Cheng came up with a more sci-fi metal basketball. Under everyone's puzzled gazes, he explained, "This is the latest generation of holographic imager. Do you know why I despise you?" Tang Hobo and Mo Rongpeng looked at each other. What is this? Ahem, Mr. Zhang, I wonder if your imager is any different from our prototype. Zhang Cheng glanced at him and sneered, the difference is huge. After speaking, he reached out and pressed on the holographic imager. A small grid opened, and Zhang Cheng took out a handful of small balls similar to glass beads. The voice imaging system is on. A sound suddenly came from the imager, startling everyone. Ignoring their reactions, Zhang Cheng said calmly, "Generate the image, and the 9 dragons will pull the coffin." Then he casually threw the small ball in his hand to the ground. Connecting to the network. Search for content about Kowloon coffin pulling. The materials are prepared and the generation begins. Compared with their previous artificial voice interpretation, the imager brought by Zhang Cheng is undoubtedly more convenient. It only took a while to connect to the world network from the initial state and search for data about the Kowloon coffin. Buzz. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 188. Kowloon coffin? Everyone present was a little confused. What is this? But soon, their doubts were all eliminated. Almost instantly, Without you noticing anything, the environment around you changes. A cold, endless starry sky replaced everything. Zhonglai looked down at his feet and found that he seemed to be suspended in space. Not far away, there is the dazzling sun. And behind them is the world they are familiar with, aqua blue star. What is this scene? The dozen or so people present all put down their work because they discovered that their keyboards and machines were covered. Is this a mature version of holographic imaging? It's much better than the prototype we crudely built. Look at this imaging effect, it is not interfered by us at all, and the imaging display is extremely stable. Those who have been studying the research and development of holography for several years were naturally astonished when they saw this shocking starry sky map. Because it's so real. Totally unimaginable. Zhang Cheng looked at the shocked expressions of these people and smiled with satisfaction. Here, in the world of holographic images, any scene can be simulated, and the imager has a mature voice imaging system. In other words, as long as you tell the picture you want, the imaging system can automatically search for relevant materials on the internet and synthesize them. I believe this technology will be enough to amaze the world when it comes out. Tang Hobo suddenly became excited when he heard what Zhang Cheng said. Mr. Zhang, are you saying that this holographic projection also has an independent imaging system? Zhang Cheng glanced at Tang Hobo and said excitedly. When I encounter something about scientific research, I get more excited than anyone else, so I throw another USB flash drive over. Zhang Cheng turned his head and said to Mo Rongpeng. Here is the complete code of the system, as well as the supporting civilian version, which just does some simple searching and imaging. The full version can search for various information and has the effect of simulating the scene, so you can discuss this with the Dragon Kingdom officials. It will be of great help in solving crimes and so on. Of course, try to get as many benefits as possible, because this function is the result of hundreds of years of advancement. You must get the maximum benefit, Zhang Chenjiao said seriously. The full version of the imaging system is really abnormal. It can simulate the scene of an accident or a murder scene. With this kind of almost buggy capability, if it is handed over to some private enterprises or purchased by a foreign company, it might be used to do some bad things. Mr. Zhang, if we cooperate with Longguo officials, will it? Mo Rongpeng considered it carefully and his expression changed slightly. Zhang Chen waved his hand and said nonchalantly, it won't happen. Let's find high-level personnel to talk about it. This technology can allow the officials to give us a huge benefit. Not to mention the protection, just purchasing the exclusive right to use the system is enough for us to make a lot of money from it. Nowadays, Longguo, who has a lot of money, has no problem gently asking for some benefits. Mo Rongpeng thought for a while and then said, how big should this benefit be? Just release the projection of the civilian version, and then directly negotiate based on the estimated market value given by the outside. While the two were talking, everyone interrupted them with exclamations. The two of them looked at the starry sky and saw that in the depths of the universe, 9 giant dragon corpses covered the sky and the sun, with huge iron chains tied to them. Looking along the iron chain, I saw only a stone coffin, exuding a primitive and desolate atmosphere. Under their horrified eyes, the giant dragon passed by the sun, and in an instant, it came to the sky above the aqua blue star where everyone was. Pulled by the 9 dead dragon corpses, they rushed through the small bodies of the people and rushed towards the aqua blue star. The screenplay back ends here. All the pictures were shattered, and everyone appeared in the research and development room again. Completely different from their previous projections, this time the 9 dragons' coffin pulling made them feel deeply shocked. This is holographic. Is that doomsday scenario also called doomsday? Tui. Hot chicken. At this moment, they understood why Zhang Chen was dissatisfied with the research and development results compared to the equipment he had. The prototype they were working on was almost like a toy. Gee. Taking back the small ball, Zhang Cheng said casually, Now do you know how rubbish the prototype you are studying is? I will give you 3 days to assemble it so that you can become familiar with the method of rapid development. So, next, after the press conference, this imager will be dismantled and studied by you. I hope you can master it quickly. My production line has been assembled. I just need you to develop all the manufacturing drawings and carry out mass production. Looking around the audience, everyone who came into contact with his gaze lowered their heads involuntarily. Okay, you continue to study. After a week, I hope the factory can officially produce it. In addition, 17 people on site completed the production parts drawings and parameter settings within 1 week. Each person will be rewarded 500,000. 7 days of paid leave. Come on, everyone, get moving. After beating, Zhang Cheng did not forget to give them a sweet date. Only in this way can they work seriously and hard for themselves, otherwise there is no prospect of just squeezing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 189. After Zhang Cheng left the company building, everyone in the R&D floor was silent. When Mo Rongpeng saw this scene, he immediately stood up and played his role. Let's all do it. Yes. Mobilizing everyone's enthusiasm, everyone returned to their posts. Mo Rongpeng then looked at Tang Hobo and said with a wry smile, Old Tang, let's go. Let's hold a press conference tonight. It was the first time I felt such a rushed atmosphere. It's only been 2 days. Mr. Zhang had completed all the work, and all that was left to him seemed to be operations. Including the direction of the negotiation, Mr. Zhang had arranged it for himself. It's like a robot. Tang Hobo nodded and said seriously, okay, although it was not developed by me, I believe that with these data, we can definitely surpass Mr. Jiang's research and development results and prove that we are not waste. The two immediately finalized the work. At 6 o'clock that evening, Mo Rongpeng contacted the major reporters in Yeadu. Including TV stations and some internet celebrity up-owners came to participate. Because Hushao provided enough, many interested people naturally came, and of course there were some who didn't come. Totally sudden situation. Tiancheng Computer Systems Co., Limited suddenly appeared and contacted me saying that it had a product launch and invited reporters to come. In a hotel. Some internet celebrities who were paid to be invited to the live broadcast were bored and playing with their mobile phones. The reporters were also not very interested. In their opinion, what good products can a small company release at a product launch? Undoubtedly, it is just a small fight to create enough buzz to attract investment and listing opportunities. The time soon came to 7 o'clock. Just when everyone was waiting impatiently, the company's president and vice presidents, Mo Rongpeng and Tang Hobo, appeared at the same time. Seeing the real owner coming on stage, those who paid to invite him immediately opened their own live broadcast rooms. Where will Grandma Pig live broadcast again tonight? It seems like I'm attending some kind of meeting. I was invited today to take my family to a press conference. Some reporters also started taking notes, but had no intention of asking questions. Instead, wait for them to speak. Mo Rongpeng had a panoramic view of the situation below, and a smile appeared on his lips. First of all, thank you all for coming to our Tiancheng Company's new product launch conference. Without further ado, the product our company is going to release is a sci-fi product from the future, holographic projection. Hearing this sentence, all the reporters and internet celebrities were startled at first, and then became interested. A reporter raised his hand first and asked, Mr. Mo, what is your company's holographic projection like? Can it be compared with foreign holographic technology? Abroad, holographic technology is actually being studied by some people, and some achievements have been made. As for Longguo, they have never heard any news about this. Compared with foreign friends, our starting time was naturally very short, but compared with them, we achieved overtaking in corners. Mo Rongpan's face bloomed with a smile. And unlike them who need to enter the projection content on the computer, our holographic imaging is equipped with a voice imaging system. That is to say, everyone only needs to tell our product what they want to image while connected to the internet. Content can be achieved. His words also successfully aroused enthusiastic discussion on the scene. Those Yeadu internet celebrities who were invited over, in their live broadcast rooms, all the water friends were also excited. Damn it, is it true? How can holographic projection be so advanced? I don't think it's possible. How can a small company do better research than foreign countries? Holographic projection, if they really do research on it, why have I never heard any news about this in the Dragon Kingdom? The currently known holographic images are still in their infancy, and it is impossible to develop them on a large scale, right? On the stage, Mo Rongpan continued to introduce the prepared speech, and finally said, "No matter how much you talk, it's better to just show off." Then he took the imager that Zhang Cheng had brought this morning and took out the beads from it. Swaying on the stage. Please enjoy the doomsday scene of the holographic world. As soon as the words fell, everyone's eyes blurred, and the scene changed. They were horrified to find that the entire hotel press room disappeared, and was replaced by a scene from a doomsday movie. During the 3-hour product launch conference, various holographic scenes, including beauty shows, the sea, and the starry sky, including some science fiction scenes, were projected, making everyone immersed in it. Until the end of the show, every reporter and internet celebrity who came here left with indescribable shock. It's amazing. After returning home, they suddenly woke up and quickly started writing. Because this will be a revolutionary technology conference. That night, the entire Dragon Kingdom's internet and TV stations broadcast reports about today. And behind this is the rise of a technology giant company. It wasn't until the next day that the little-known Tiancheng Computer Systems Co., Limited became completely famous in the financial industry. Because some authoritative organizations have calculated a set of astonishing data based on the actual situation and some values of the holographic imager released by Tiancheng Company. If Tiancheng Company chooses to go public, their market value will exceed 170 billion. And this is just a minimum parameter. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 190. Things continue to ferment. Because it is a holographic projection, it has a super realistic effect that makes it difficult to distinguish between reality and fiction. Therefore, Tiancheng Company's stock price has been soaring. That morning, at the Tiancheng Group headquarters in Shanghai, Zhou Hao and Lu Feng were sitting in the conference room. Tiancheng Group will develop independently. Tiancheng Computer Systems Co., Limited, I have other arrangements. Before I come back, just do the tasks I assigned you. After I come back, I will work on another project for Tiancheng Group. Several people looked extremely serious. Less than a week had passed before Zhang Cheng caused such a big thing. It was enough to convince several people. Zhou Hao, you can issue an explanation. The two Tiancheng companies, Modu and Yeadu, are brother companies. They are involved in different industries, but the largest shareholder is the same person. Understood, do everything that is conducive to the development of the group. If this happens, the people in the Magic City will be even more wary of us. In the video, Zhang Cheng was sitting on the sofa, talking calmly to Zhou Hao and several shareholders of Tiancheng Group. Now he is all about profit. Yes, Mr. Zhang, I understand, Zhou Hao nodded. Zhang Cheng glanced at a few people and said that he had finished explaining what needed to be explained, so he said, okay, I still have things to do. You and Mo Rongpeng should get to know each other. Then he looked at Mo Rongpeng and said with a faint smile, "Tonight, I will buy the front pages of major searches and continue to expand the influence of holographic projection. I will draw the pie first and blow it up, then the stock will skyrocket. Everyone will gather at Yeouido International Hotel in the evening, and there will be a celebration banquet in the evening." Mo Rongpeng replied with a smile on his face, "I will inform you shortly." After only a few days, his net worth is about to skyrocket to tens of billions. Mo Rongpeng is very happy, and he is also the head of a company worth hundreds of billions. Zhang Chen nodded and left. The purpose of contacting the Magic City side in the company today is actually to strengthen contact between the heads of the two companies. Develop a direction for cooperation. He will not put any project that can make a lot of money in Magic City. What proportion of stocks are there? 75%. What about your new acquisition? 90%. They are all about making money, so the one who makes the most money must be the one. Two different companies, a win-win cooperation, and I eat both sides. Isn't this great? After coming out of the company, Zhang Chen drove in a certain direction. Although the company needs to be established, he has not forgotten that he wants to rob the protagonist of his opportunity. Building a company is just a side event. After leaving the company, Zhang Chen drove towards the Chen Group. This can also be regarded as the iconic corporate representative of Yeouido, the headquarters of Chen Group. Chen Tiansheng disagreed and smiled, "I wonder what kind of business it is." In the building, the chairman's office. The pretty secretary immediately replied, "No, it was a company that just changed its name in the past few days. Also a few days ago, the registered capital was increased from 10 million to 500 million. Zhang Chen looked at Chen Tiansheng's appearance and couldn't help but smile. Chen Tiansheng couldn't help but be startled when he heard the secretary's words on the phone. Yes, the beautiful secretary bowed and responded. In the most prosperous city center of the Demon City, an extremely special building stands. I wonder what Mr. Zhang Chen wants when he comes to the Demon City to see me. Chen Tiansheng took a sip of coffee and smiled. Then, she walked out. The Chen Group has a wide range of interests in Demon City and the second and third tier cities surrounding Demon City, with their presence in various industries. Hearing the secretary's answer, Chen Tiansheng frowned even deeper. Although he has to stay in the demon capital for a month, this does not mean that it will take Zhang Chen a month to rob Chen Luo of all the opportunities. If a company with such a high market value appears in the Demon City, if they continue to develop stably for a few more years, my position as the richest man will have to change. There should be a high probability of success. Chairman, Zhang Chen, President of the Zhang Group in Shanghai, wants to see you. Emerging technology companies. Zhang Chen was not polite and sat down directly, placing the box he brought on the table. What does he want to do with him? Go and collect important information about this company. After thinking for a while, Chen Tiansheng ordered. A building that cost tens of billions to build. When the secretary stepped back, Chen Tiansheng smiled and said, "Mr. Zhang Chen, please sit down. Now that the holographic layout has been laid out, we can also take this opportunity to meet the chairman of the Chen Group." Chen Tiansheng, "I don't know if my current plan can seduce him." Zhang Chen smiled slightly when he thought of the plan he had thought up a long time ago. After a while, the front desk secretary brought Zhang Chen to his office. Chen Tiansheng looked at the news on the computer and couldn't help but speak out and asked the secretary, who was standing respectfully in front of him, "Has this Tiansheng company had any signs of it before?" "Bring him up." Chen Tiansheng thought for a while and agreed to see him. "But I won't go there to pick him up personally, because Zhang Chen is bankrupt and not that $100 billion group." Zhang Chen concealed the information about the $2 billion groups he controlled. Therefore, in the eyes of this group of people, if they did not check deliberately, Zhang Chen's information was that of a bankrupt group president. "Zhang Chen? When I come here this time, I have a business to discuss with Director Chen. As expected, although he is quite majestic, he just loves his only son Chen Luo too much. After browsing on the computer for a while, the dedicated phone on the table rang. Chen Tiansheng.